Hello and welcome to this episode of CXO Cafe, a series of learning interactions with CIOs and technology leaders of large enterprises. I'm Anil Chopra, VP Research and Consulting at CyberMedia Research, and your host for this episode. Our theme for this series of episodes is workplace trends for the new normal, and today we'll be discussing a very important aspect of this topic, bringing people together with enhanced collaboration. Now, as we all know, that the pandemic has been difficult for every industry. For pharma, for instance, pharma sector, the challenge has been to, in many companies to ramp up production of medicines on one side and to be able to manage supply chain disruptions on the other. On top of that, they had to deal with, labor shortage during various lockdowns that happened at various points of time. Now, having a sound collaboration infrastructure that really enables the workforce to communicate with each other, no matter where they are, becomes very, very essential. So in this episode, as I mentioned, we'll discuss, this aspect of bringing people together with enhanced collaboration. How do we really do that? For this, we have with us Anirudh Mehta, AGM QA IT Quality Informatics at Alembic Pharmaceuticals Limited. Welcome to CXO Cafe, Anirudh.
Hi, Anil. Thanks a lot for having me over.
Now, before we start the discussion, Anirudh, I'd just like to give a quick introduction about you and Alembic Pharma. Alembic Pharma is an Indian multinational pharma company headquartered in Vadodara, Gujarat. The company is a leading manufacturer of various pharmaceutical products, substances, and intermediates. It is also termed to be a market leader in macrolide segments of anti-infective drugs in India. Anirudh Mehta, an engineer by education, has expertise in IT operations management, IT compliance and risk management, IT strategy and planning, outsourcing management, technology evaluation and selection, and vendor management. Apart from these, he is well experienced in management and business. His hobbies and interests are, and that's a lot of hobbies, cooking, cycling, gadgets, music, photography, politics, social science, theater and performing arts, and travel. But the interesting thing is that his success mantra is that he who has the why to live can almost bear anyhow, by Viktor Frankl. Welcome once again to CXO Cafe, Anirudh. Great to know about you and your motto and success mantra and all. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine, Anil.
Now, the whole country has witnessed the extraordinary efforts put up by India's pharma companies to tackle the pandemic situation, despite being under a lot of pressure. Tell us about some of the experiences you faced as an IT leader and how did you leverage technology to resolve them?
I think I will start this with a small anecdote which I always quote, and it's become a part of life now. It's a favorite anecdote which I have. Specifically, in this kind of scenario when people discuss technology and IT and digital transformation and COVID and the pandemic and all that stuff. Yeah, pandemic was something very different, something nobody expected, and something which was which took the world by a storm. And literally, we can say it's which took the world by a storm. But there was an anecdote in Einstein's life, where a couple of students walked up to Einstein when he was a professor at an university in Switzerland and asked him, saying, "Sir, or I would rather say, Professor, the questions which you gave in today's examination were the same as the questions which you had asked 2 years or 3 years ago." And to which Einstein replied back saying, "The questions are the same, but the answers have changed." And I see this very simple as disruptions in terms of COVID or anything else are always going to be there. But what is more important for business is how to adopt technology and how to leverage that technology exposure that we have in today's world. Specifically in times of COVID, I've heard every company, not just the pharma sector, every company said we are going to work from home, we are going to get more bandwidth, more connection. But do you really think that before COVID this was not the requirement? I think that was, but companies never paid attention because they thought, fine, people are coming home, we have that opportunity. In this was moreover a boon in disguise in two ways. One is all organizations learn to adopt technology and realize that technology can be adopted very easily and really fast. And second was I can employ anybody from any part of the world. That was a major gain. Nobody ever thought saying somebody sitting in probably Brazil is working for an Indian company and seamlessly working and getting that work done. So that's where I would say technology has got in terms of COVID and with this collaboration. So for us, it was also the same thing, saying technology is there, but start leveraging it. How more efficiently can we leverage technology, and especially in the manufacturing area or a QC area where we need people, we cannot do without people. And how efficiently do we create a hybrid model? And we've done that. And with that, we can say Alembic is not shut down for a single day, despite of the complete COVID and all of that. They have had that, the management has had that amazing flexibility and thought process that they could make it possible that even during COVID, they did not shut down the manufacturing for a single day.
Right. Thanks a lot, Anirudh. I think very good anecdote that you've shared on Einstein, and very true. I mean, this requirement had always been there, but I guess during extraordinary times, there were certain efforts required by companies to ensure that they're able to communicate, and that's really what really important to kind of keep them working together. And but during the pandemic, one side we saw that demand for medicine had actually gone up, and forcing a lot of pharma companies to ramp up their production. And as you rightly said, you never actually had to shut down, or never government mandated that people had to go to office. In your case, how did IT really manage safe communication and collaboration between various teams during this time?
So you see, this was moreover where we had to get in systems which made easy for people to collaborate when working from their own work area. So it was simple as there were more operational requirements which Alembic worked around, where they created clusters within the organization. So every cluster had its own area of work, area for their washrooms and all that stuff, plus their lunch area, and this was completely different. So only that cluster used to use that particular area of work, and there were enough technology options which were available over there where they could collaborate over Teams or other video conferencing platforms, through which they could communicate with other teams. And there were certain platforms where when documents needed to be signed, we could push it online to get the document signing and the process done. The biggest challenge which we faced during this time, when people were not able to physically come in contact with each other, were two. One was specifically in terms of pharma, when their compliance comes in, when the compliance or regulatory requirements where they say you need a physical signature, you need the person physically present to sign it off as a document, or person to, you need a validity that it is the same person who's approving or signing off that. So there we had to get in the compliance and put in some technology over there to make sure that this compliance is working in terms of signing documents from any place, and made sure that there is one person, one login ID, one unique entry key, so that we are 100% sure that nobody else can log in or and those things were specifically taken care of. The second thing was, where I think every company or every industry faced that was, one person in that particular cluster being impacted by COVID. Either the person is impacted by COVID, or somebody at home is impacted by COVID. In that scenario, the issue we faced is, does the cluster shut down? Do people keep coming in? What do we do about the fear within the people? So there we supported them, saying the choice is yours. You want to be at home, be at home. You don't need to, push yourself to come to work and strain yourself. Because what was more important was, yes, technology was required, But if I give the person a flexibility to say that probably the next 14 days when you're quarantined, or you can sit at home with a laptop and you can do this XYZ work in this 14 days and finish it off. And we have a replacement who will be doing the physical work at the lab or the manufacturing area instead of you. And you guide that person over online call or a laptop, this thing. That is where, there's one thing which beautifully came out was human relationships. Technology definitely bridged the gap, but those human relationships really rose over the unusual circumstances, I would rather say.
Thank you. I think, very valid. I think human relationships, although, there was a lot of gap in terms of, people being working remotely and all that. Because of that distance was there, but human relationships really helped bridge that gap, and that was very, very important. And yes, glad to hear that you use some of those technologies and some of the challenges you talked about in terms of getting physical signature and all that. But yeah, one thing is very clear that this has made hybrid work environments a reality for any industry, and I'm sure and the same goes in pharma. Now you mentioned one challenge about getting physical signatures of the person. What are some of the other challenges for enabling collaboration in a hybrid work environment?
So see, one was like I said, physical signatures. Second was in the hybrid work environment, specifically, having those, the systems were in place, but the bandwidth optimization and the bandwidth utilization rose to such a high. We had to put in guidelines specifically for people to say video calls, or you are doing a Teams call, or you are doing a Google Talk, or you are doing some other VoIP calls. Make sure your videos are shut, because at some point of time what we realized that there are so many videos on, it was eating up the bandwidth. Now consider manufacturing. Manufacturing in India has always been at such geographical or demographic locations which are probably 50 to 60 kilometers outside the city periphery. And the same was with Alembic. And outside the city periphery, for any company to get that kind of network, that kind of bandwidth has always been an issue. So there was bandwidth, there has been good bandwidth, good network, but the point was when the utilization went up to a certain level, there were certain rules and regulations which we needed to get into place. We had to also do an optimization over there in terms of technical optimization of the network and pushing it and tunneling and etc. Where the right network would be right, optimum speed and bandwidth would be provided to the right softwares or the options and all that stuff. Because what was happening is, what we realized, that these calls and these video calls were hitting the actual application network also.
Okay. Yeah, so absolutely, bandwidth optimization must have been a necessity with the utilization going up and skyrocketing. So absolutely glad to hear that you managed to take care of it. One question that comes to mind is that how have you seen, as an IT leader, how have you seen collaboration evolve during this time, that could actually bring people together in this kind of a hybrid workforce? I mean, you would have also seen, collaboration technologies and all, some evolution also happening to kind of enable this kind of remote working.
So, one thing is we enabled everybody to be online, and we enabled everybody to have that utilization of a video call or a Teams call or something like that, or a Google call, which first and the simplest way, the basic step which we took. But on the second bits, what we realized is when people were working from home, there was also a major pressure from the family end because of the lockdown, saying the housework, the kids, do they actually have the internet bandwidth at home? Do they actually have the space at home where, I am working undisturbed? Now here also we faced multiple issues in terms of people. Technology was still there, but in terms of people and their understanding and the maturity which grew over the period of last 1 year. Initially, when we got onto calls, and people were collaborating, some from home, some from office, some from their respective work area. There were issues where, probably a child shouting from behind, or probably TV playing behind, or video playing behind, and the constraint of a separate room not available for the person. Times when network used to get disconnected and people used to get disconnected from the call and used to reconnect. There were those hyper behaviors from people which we realized during those calls, which have drastically come down now, where people are more comfortable saying your child is crying, fine, I'll wait for 2 minutes. You can just cater to your child and then get back on the call. We'll hold on the call. Second is people started understanding that how do I use a mute, or how do I mute myself and say make sure that I am there on the call, but I can continue catering to some urgent need which has come up at home and stuff. And that understanding between teams has grown, saying that fine, he or she has to cater to something important at home. Because they are at home, it does not mean that I can ignore what is happening around me, which is practically impossible as a human. Second thing, there is a very big maturity come up in terms of people talking, saying, I am breaking for lunch, I'm breaking for tea, or 6 o'clock I have shut down in the evening and I will not be available beyond this time. And in case there is an emergency, I will definitely connect, but yeah, I will not, that initially wasn't there. There was a major burnout in two ways. One, organizations trying to make sure that people are working from home and they are surely giving in that effort that they used to give from office also. On the other hand, people trying to prove themselves that no, I'm not whiling away my time at home, but I'm working and I'm efficiently giving out these things. So that was a beautiful change which came in automatically. I don't think organizations have worked around it or technology has worked around it.
No, absolutely. I think over a period of time, people have kind of become used to it, and they've learned that they're all in the same boat. So if it is happening with one person, it could happen with me also. So that is probably why they got used to it. They cooperated with each other, and that cooperation level really kind of helped, and they got used to how to handle such situations. You're right. Last question, Anirudh. And that is around being a technology leader. You've seen so many different challenges. One is that people are able to handle it through cooperation with each other. But during this time, your own expectations of technology, for enabling enhanced collaboration that takes care of some of the issues that you would have faced in this environment. You would have also developed certain expectations. What are some of those expectations that you would have from technology that you've kind of observed during this period of time?
So one thing which I still have, and I am not sure whether this gap has been filled or no, is today there is immense amount of technology which is available in the market, like RPA or BI or AI or ML, etc., etc. These are the latest ones which are available. Plus there are other technologies which are also available across and which are beautiful. And they have come up in a great way during the pandemic and helped a lot of industries cope up with the pandemic issues and the pressure. But one thing what I want to see is how can vendors or technology partners or technology owners themselves bring down the turnaround time for a technology implementation, and how can they seamlessly integrate with a legacy application or legacy data and bring in the legacy data. Because in terms of a manufacturing or pharma company, you don't expect somebody from a pharma or a QA or a QC or a manufacturing guy stopping the manufacturing or the quality analysis and putting in more effort into implementation. And also, as a pharma company or a manufacturing company or any company which is a non-IT company, I would rather say, which requires this IT services, would not want to build in after with the pandemic and all that stuff, would not want to build in IT expertise within the organization, because my expertise is pharma, or my expertise is manufacturing, or my expertise is probably hotel industry. Why do I want to concentrate on a IT expertise and get that within the organization? In that scenario, what is very important and my expectation from technology today is the turnaround time. How can I reduce the turnaround time on implementation?
Very true. As you rightly said, that technology is there, but then there is a lot of people who have a certain core focus area, who have a certain other expertise, and IT is not really their strength. They don't want to go around toiling with technology while they're sitting at home and working and waiting for IT teams to come back and support them. So very, very valid point. Good. Thank you so much, Anirudh, for joining us today and sharing those insights. I think it has been a pleasure to do this interaction with you.
Thanks a lot, Anil, and the pleasure is mine too. And thanks for having me over.
Well, that's all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed watching this episode of CXO Cafe and found it interesting and useful. We will be back again soon with more interesting chats around other aspects of new workplace trend. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching CXO Cafe and see you soon.